So you may have seen recently that the Oxford Union hosted a debate on whether Israel is committing genocide, and the majority of the students, it seems, already had deeply anti-Israel beliefs and viewpoints. And when I think it was Yosef Haddad or Mossab Youssef asked the audience, would they have reported the October 7th atrocity if they heard about what was happening, the plans of Hamas, would they have reported it to the Israeli authorities? 75% of the room said no, they wouldn't. Now, again, I really think it's important to emphasize this is a very selected and selective audience, many of them already deeply hostile to Israel, that showed up. But I want you to watch this clip because this is from the Oxford Union's debate last week. This is with Yosef Haddad, a non-Jewish Israeli Arab who is deeply supportive of Israel. And I want you to watch what he does at the start of his speech, where he plays the recording of a phone call between one of the terrorists on October 7th who called his family. And to me, it explains everything you need to know about the conflict, and I'll explain why. But first, let's have a watch of this clip.
Having fun already, I see. Well, first of all, I'm glad that you brought, Mr. President, the uploading to the social media, because get this. Listen to this.
أنا قاعد أكلمك من جوبا بسيم. افتح الواتس تبعه قول له وين شوف كيف قتله، شوف كيف قتلت بيدي يابا، ابنك قتل يهود، هاي دخل مفلسين يابا. يابا قاعد أكلمك من جوال يهودية، قتلتها وقتلت جوزها، 10 بيدي يابا قتلت 10. يابا 10 بيدي قتلت.
I understand, I'll translate, don't worry. It's for the majority of Arab speakers here. Okay, this is a Palestinian, not affiliated with Hamas according to what he says, just a citizen. And he's saying, Dad, Allahu Akbar, I just killed 10 Jews. I have their blood on my hand. I stole her phone. I'm speaking with you from her phone. This is a Palestinian, which you will call a civilian if the IDF eliminates. So this is one of the many videos that Hamas uploaded, and they themselves were proud of killing, guess what, Arabs and Jews in the 7th of October. And just before I start actually my speech, you know, it's funny, Mr. President, you as an Egyptian talking about the land of Palestine and stalling. You know, back in 1948, when the Arabs did not agree to the partition plan and the Jews did, and they opened the war and they lost the war, but you know what? They kept the West Bank and they kept Gaza. Do you know who actually ruled Gaza between 48 to 67 and who ruled the West Bank between 48 to 67? No, not Israel. It was Egypt in Gaza, and it was Jordan illegally in the West Bank. Now, here's a question, rhetorical one, because I really don't care about your answer. From 48 to 67, you as an Egyptian, you should know that Egypt controlled Gaza, yet they never offered a state to the Palestinians to take, which right now they are actually fighting for. They're also fighting for the West Bank. They're fighting for borders of 67. That's at least what the Palestinian Authority wants. Not like Muhammad al-Kurd and all the constituent speakers who wants the annihilation of Israel from the river to the sea, right? But here's the thing. How much I bet with you that you have no clue which river and which sea, but you are like zombies. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Listen carefully. If you want to free Palestine, first free Palestine from Hamas. First free Palestine from the terrorists.
So what he said there in his opening remarks, to me, gets to the heart of this. And by the way, you can watch the full thing on the Oxford Union YouTube channel. And it gets to the heart of it because people try to say that it's all about freeing Palestine, Palestinian state, the Jews, and Israel being oppressive. And they just want to have a country. They were usurped by these foreign colonialists, the Zionist entity. So if that's the case, if it really is just some kind of legitimate grievance, then why, as Yosef Haddad said, would you hear on October 7th, one of the Arabs from Gaza who broke into Israel and called their family, called his family and said, Allahu Akbar, I have killed Jews. And his family say, wow, Allahu Akbar. If this is about some kind of political grievance with a governmental, political organization, the Zionist entity, as they may refer to it, and they just want to have land back, why would they be celebrating the fact that they're just killing Jews at random? More than that, it's religious. They're saying Allahu Akbar, God is great. There was another terrorist who said we're finally actualizing the end of days scenario and prophecy. We're bringing it to life where Muslims kill Jews. How can you tell me this is a political grievance? It's just about statehood that they want? How could you possibly deny that what's going on here is anti-Semitic ideological hatred, which is no different than what we've seen for the last 3,000 years? This is not my personal spin on things. This is what they are saying themselves. Listen to them. Listen to what they say is motivating them. It's a religious conflict. It's based on ideological hatred. And it's not based on a legitimate grievance, precisely as Yosef said. Because if it was, then why, between 1948 to 67, when other Arab countries, illegally by the way, occupied Judea and Samaria and Gaza, why didn't they say, okay, well, let's at least create Palestine here? No, they just held on to it. I often show this map, which is how Israel would have looked if, God forbid, the Arabs won in 1948. There would be no free Palestine. Jordan would have a chunk, Egypt would have a chunk, Syria, Lebanon, because it's not about national self-determination and human rights and all these things. It's about stopping the Jewish people from having sovereignty, from returning to their land, precisely because it's so threatening to a radical Islamic worldview and ideology, which says that Islam will overtake the world. We are the new chosen people. God has forsaken the Jews. The Jews are now rejected. So what does it mean the Jews now, after 2,000 years of wandering the earth, suddenly return to their land? What does this tell us? Maybe God never broke his covenant with the Jews. Well, no, that can't be, because we have to hold on to our view. So therefore, it must be a test. We must have to eliminate Israel. That has to be what's called of us. God forbid. So there's no legitimate grievance. There's no desire for a free Palestine, for a Palestinian state. This is what they tell us. It's not my spin. It's what they tell us. People say, Ollie, come on, even if nationalist desires come later in a nation's history or it forms later, that doesn't mean it's not legitimate. To which I say, okay, but they have told us themselves, the leaders, the people involved, the activists, that they're not actually that interested in a Palestinian state. What they're just interested in is getting rid of the Jews and getting rid of the Jewish state. And this was the case even before Israel was created. We saw the same ideological hatred towards Jews and Jewish people being equals and sovereign by the Arab leadership. The Nazis really handed on the baton to Hajj Amin al-Husseini, the first spiritual leader of the Palestinians, who, by the way, was happy to be part of southern Syria, to make it part of southern Syria. So we just got to listen to what they're actually telling us, because when we listen to them, things become very clear. And instead, what happens is the Oxford Union people and others in the West seem to fall for the lies. They almost decide themselves, no, it must be a legitimate cause. It must be that Israel's in the wrong, Israel's the aggressor. And, if we hear this hatred, well, it's just because they've been radicalized from bad treatment by Israel. Sorry. Number one, listen to what they say. Number two, study their history and you'll see that everything they lament in Western circles, on Western media, is entirely self-inflicted. From displacement, which occurred because they decided to wage war against the Jews. It's not like they were displaced first and therefore said, well, we're going to fight the Jews, fight Zionism. No, Jews were living there peacefully. They purchased land through legal means. Arabs are living there too. The UN said we'll split the land without any major displacement. But of course, they rejected that. And a result of trying to get rid of this Jewish state, which would have been alongside an Arab state, they lost. And many were displaced, actually mostly because the Arab leadership said to leave and get out. And once we've thrown the Jews into the sea, you can come back. But everything from that to what happened in Gaza, people say with Gaza, oh, but you know, Israel left Gaza, but they blockaded them immediately. No, Israel said, go ahead, make a success of it. And after 2 years of them voting in Hamas as terrorist organization to lob rockets into Israel, and daily terror being put at the people of Israel, especially in the south, and plans to try and terrorize Israel more through the Hamas government and culture that they fostered, and destroying the architecture that was there and using it instead for terrorism and tunnels and not making a success of it. After 2 years, Israel says, you know what, we have to put in a censorship for weapons now because you're using it to create weapons. Israel didn't stop things from going in. Gaza's economy was actually better than many other parts of the Middle East. But sorry that Israel's censoring it for weapons. You find that unacceptable? But there was no blockade that stopped food and products and medicine, etc. from getting in there. So you talk about, yeah, but they were blockaded. It was self-inflicted once again. They could have made a great success of it. There could have been an open border between Gaza and Israel if they would have chosen peace and prosperity. Whether it's checkpoints, whether it's occupation, whatever it is they lament, it's entirely self-inflicted. And it's based on a ideological hatred. That is what we ultimately need to be saying and need to be clear about. We need to listen to what the leaders of the Palestinian cause, both past and present, say. We need to listen to what these terrorists on October 7th said. And when you show that clearly, it may be the case that many people in the room at the Oxford Union weren't able to hear that because they're so deeply poisoned with hatred towards Israel already. But I assure you that people out there in the public who will watch this video and watch our analysis and listen to the speeches in full, they will be able to understand the truth. So we've got to keep saying it clearly. We have to be unequivocal about this. We want peace more than anything else. We really do. But you only get to peace through strength and through understanding the truth. If you made it so far in this video, that means you probably appreciate the work we're doing at JTV to spread the truth about Israel and create positive associations with Jews, Judaism and Israel for the entire world. I really believe that part of fighting anti-Semitism is to create pro-Semitism and share and inspire people with the truth. There's so much anti-Israel media, online channels, and I think that it's time we start competing with them. We're already having a big impact, but there's a lot more that we can do. I've got a plan, a vision, which is to start doing more documentaries, animated content, having more presenters like me doing other shows to really accelerate the growth and impact that we're having. The impact is really good, but there's even more we could be doing. So we're doing a crowdfunding campaign in order to fund that vision and to scale JTV. The question is, would you consider partnering with us? Would you consider donating to this crowdfunding campaign in order to partner with us in scaling JTV, partnering with us in spreading the truth of Israel, Judaism and Jews to the entire world? If you would, please click on the donate button in the link below this video. The campaign's official launch is in a few days from now, but you can actually donate right now. So please click on the link if you want to partner with us in sharing the truth and spreading it to all corners of the world through the power of the internet. Again, click on the link in the video description of this video and please support the work we're doing. I'd be so grateful for any support you're able to give, and you truly will become a partner with us in our mission.